This is Mindful Edge, where learning and ideas shift systems and hearts. Our next guest, Lisa, works at the intersection of neuroscience, mindset, and lived human behaviour. And you've walked through burnout, self-doubt, and the pressure to perform. I'm so grateful you're here to reflect with me on self-compassion as a neurological necessity.
And I'd love to hear, what does self-compassion mean to you as lived experience?
Well, okay, there's a lot here, but the most important thing is understanding self-compassion is not weak. Self-compassion is not giving yourself excuses to be, what people say, weak or have an out. It's a neurological necessity because at our core, as humans, we have a need, a biological need to feel seen, heard, and understood, right? So if we can have that sort of self-compassion for ourselves and give that to ourselves, what that does in the long term is stop the unhealthy reliance on external validation, because we want to be seen, heard and understood by others as well. But if we're lacking that in ourselves, it becomes all about, well, what do you think about me? What do you think about me? And then we judge ourselves based on the opinions of others. So we need that groundwork first. And this is where we see behaviors like people pleasing, comparing ourselves to others, and social media is a big one for that. Like, look at all these people doing all these wonderful things, and like, I should be better and I should be doing. It's like, hang on a minute, just be kind to yourself, right? Don't put those unrealistic expectations, and ultimately self-sabotage yourself.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, right? We have an inner mean girl or an inner mean boy, and that's that. Have you ever heard that term before?
I haven't actually, but I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of my gurus that I follow, Melissa Ambrosini, she talks a lot about that. She's written a book about mastering your inner mean girl. And essentially all it is that negative way that we speak to ourselves. So we are constantly talking to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Good job, terrible job, what are you doing? Don't do that. You look like an idiot. And most of the time we listen more to the negative, to the mean girl. And again, when we let it run wild, it can see a decline in our self-esteem, in our confidence, even the way that we show up for ourselves or the decisions that we make. Like, no, I won't go for that job. You're not going to get it anyway. Just no. Or you did really bad in that interview. You're rubbish. And that switch just of self-compassion to go, hang on a minute. Can I give myself the same level of kindness and patience that I would give to my friend?
Yes.
Right. So I ran a workshop recently called Would You Say That to Your Bestie? And that was all about compassion, understanding the way that you process information and also your self-talk. And just with that one question, I asked people, okay, so what are you telling yourself right now? Oh, I'm this, I need to be more this, I should be this. Would you say that to your best friend if he or she came to you with the same issue? Oh, absolutely not. No. I'd say, don't worry about it. You go for it. You're a good person. I said, right. So why are we saying this stuff to ourselves?
Yeah.
Right? We have this high expectation. We're our own worst critic.
Yes.
So if we can, that self-compassion, if we can let go of that perfectionism and just give ourselves permission to be human, just like we would our loved ones.
Yeah.
So
and that's really what, so many people misunderstand self-love. I had someone email me back saying, I can't possibly be in this theme because it's a sin. So it's like the church
self-compassion's a sin.
Yeah, it's like the church is teaching them that it's of the flesh, it's a selfish thing. So, and I thought, but how, if you really understand love comes from within. And if you can't love from within, how do you love others? Like, it goes
Correct.
both ways.
Correct. Yeah. And I guess everything's up for interpretation. So, I grew up Catholic. But it's not all about, at the end of the day, there's good in that. We don't have to self-sacrifice to the point of self-sabotage, in my opinion. Now, everyone's got a different opinion and it's fantastic. It makes the world go round.
Yeah.
But if we, and to use a very cliche example, filling your own cup, so to speak, right? we can't give to others if we've got nothing, if we're empty.
Yep.
And self-compassion, and it's not selfish. And I think that's where we get tripped up as society, like self-care, right? Oh, you shouldn't do that. Like, it's selfish. When did being selfish become a bad thing? It's only if we're using that to, at the detriment of others. But if I'm looking after myself and I can be the best version I can be, and I'm happy within myself, I'm going to be a better human being for my external world. But if I'm sitting there grumpy and exhausted and burnt out, and we'll get to this, later with the burnout, I'm not going to be very pleasant to be around. And therefore, I'm not going to bring a beautiful experience to the people that I interact with. So, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I think it all comes back to self.
Yes.
And I definitely see that in my own, journey and, going through divorce and, nervous system overload and panic attacks. And I know we'll probably get to that a bit later too. And I just, I had to stop pressuring myself to be all the things that I, quote, unquote, should be, or what's expected, and just meet myself where I was in my truth and recognize that I was human, and that's okay.
Yeah, so there's some really good things there. Like if we change some of our language to taking out those shoulds out of our language, that will help at one level. And
100%.
yeah, and there's like something I read a long time ago was that one negative comment we hear out of 10 positive, we'll always remember the negative.
Yeah.
I've learned that if we deal with that straight away, that really helps rather than let it ruminate and fester into our system, which just brings us down and things like that.
Yeah. And I won't go too much into the whole neuroscience back of it, but if you think about, millions of years ago, like we're geared for survival. So what are we doing when we're geared for survival? We talk about our fight and flight reflex. We're looking for threats of danger, like to survive. So we are tuned in more to, oh, that person looked at me weird. Oh, that was a negative thing. What does that mean about me? Because we have such a strong need biologically to be connected to people. We're not lone wolves. We are connectors.
Yes.
We want that connection. So with that comes that need to be accepted. So anything that's not that or threatens that is like, hang on, what does that say about me? Like, what's going on here?
Yes.
And very, very easily become like self-deprecating.
Yeah, so there's a real connection between then self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-validation. All of that has to come from within ourselves. And then we can, give out.
100%. Yeah. And we do both. Like we want the external validation, but we also need that internal validation. And a bit of both is very healthy. But you probably know some people who are very self-validated and don't really take in anything else, and anything to an extreme is not necessarily, it can get you into trouble. But then you see the complete opposite, where it's constantly seeking that compassion or that acceptance from other people at the expense of yourself, because you forget like what your own purpose is or what you even want, because it's based so much externally. And that can be not such a good thing sometimes either.
Yes. Yeah, so if we move into like the leadership space and in businesses and things like that, so we have a lot of burnout with people having issues within that, pushing themselves to the limit, not really listening to what's going on in themselves. I do that all the time, so I'm terrible at it.
Guilty.
So what kind of things can we utilize in helping us in those spaces, especially in leadership?
Well, firstly, just to take a step back, it's important to understand that traditionally leadership is built on very outdated models, right? Yeah. So it's a very masculine energy space. I'm talking, decades. So it's stoic, we've got to have that grit. We've got to have that self-sacrifice. Nothing else matters. You're there to do a job, and business doesn't care about your feelings. It's just results. And yes, businesses thrive on results. That's true. But more so, and especially if, you know, COVID taught us anything, the well-being space and how people are feeling about what they're doing, it means you're going to get better results. So that comes back to recognizing that we don't necessarily have to push harder or suppress our needs just to get things done. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to push. Sometimes there's a deadline. It is what it is. But not falling into that trap where we almost like wear our long working hours like a badge of honor.
Yes.
Like, oh, I work 70 hours a week. I work this. That's great. But are you sleeping? How's your health? How's your family? You know, we don't want to overwork to the point where burnout is mistaken for dedication or progress, because ultimately we're going to suffer in the long term. And the work suffers too. Then you've got all these people burnt out. They're going to take time off. They're grumpy at work. They're procrastinating. There's all these negative behaviors that can come from that.
Yes.
So that's the first kind of like just going, okay, well, that's how traditionally we've been conditioned, I guess.
Yes.
That, you know, we need to do this. And that's why all these, like, it's almost, you know, there's 4-hour work week books and all of this, you know, 80-20 principle. That's just not fluff. That's real scientific based studies, which I think is still slowly we're getting, you know, mental health day and all of this kind of stuff. But it's still in the vast majority seen as like, well, you know, toughen up, just keep going, you know.
Yes.
So ambition, there's a difference, right? So ambition is great as long as you're feeling energized afterwards.
So the only way that we can really get energized is to take time out for ourselves.
Correct. Because if we keep pushing over a long period of time and we're not enjoying that, our ambition can turn into exhaustion. We can become resentful for our workplace, resentful for our colleagues, conflict in life areas as well. And because when we can't shut off, it turns into a negative pattern where we have more stress, less sleep, less patience. But there's strength in recognizing, like, I just need a break, even if it's 5 minutes. There's strength in vulnerability, in slowing down, in asking for help. And it's really being aware of yourself and knowing when to push forward and when to just back off for a bit.
Yes. I've learned the hard way of I now have unplugged days, like just I completely have 5:30 from Saturday night to 9 o'clock on Monday morning that I do not touch any social media, my phone even is on do not disturb, computers or anything. I'm in nature, I'm just grounded, I'm gaining all the energy back to myself, and it's the best thing I've ever done this last year.
Yeah, and you know, some people go, oh no, I can't be without technology for that long. But even if it's just an hour, because if you think about it, and without going too much off on a tangent, like, we are accessible 24/7. Like, we have our phones, we have, like, you think about messages. Sometimes I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm emailing my friends, but I've also got text messages from them. They're messaging me on Facebook Messenger and Insta DMs. Like, where's our conversation is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a constant bombardment. It's overwhelming. So getting back to the second part of your question about how we recognize burnout, stripping it back to, firstly, what's driving you, right? So is your drive coming from alignment and congruency and your purpose, or is it coming from like adrenaline and that pressure of, you know, expectation?
Yeah.
That's a telltale sign.
Like I have to achieve.
Yep. There's a difference, and this is all about reframing that I do with my clients with, again, your mean girl and your self-talk. Is your life run by, I want to do this, I'd love to do this, or I have to do this, I need to do this, if I don't do this? So the language that we're telling ourselves, and once you tune into that, you'll very quickly notice what your patterns are and going, oh my God, I'm always saying I have to, rather than I choose to, I want to.
Yeah.
I have to. It's like obligation.
You can hear that in language. You can hear the positive, the calming of that just in saying those words to the, that dread, I have to do this.
Yeah. You 100%. And then once you start becoming aware of that, you're also becoming aware of your body and how it's reacting to that. So physical cues, right? Tension, irritability, emotional reactivity, because we're not operating from a calm baseline. We're already a 7 out of 10. So then something comes along that's a 2 out of 10 and we're ready to explode. Whereas if we're in a calm nervous system, if we've exercised that compassion and we're calm and, look, it's not a perfect world. We're not going to be calm all the time. But if our baseline is, at a 2 out of 10, then when something comes along, we're not exploding. We're also not having that brain fog because we're rested. Our nervous system is allowing us to just take a breather. And when we're lying in bed at night, we're not going, oh my God, I didn't do this. Oh, it's tomorrow. I'm already writing my list in my head rather than just relaxing. So that's another telltale sign of burnout, which is the overthinking, overcommitting. I've got 2 hours. Maybe I can do 20 things. No, you can do 2. And setting those unrealistic goals for yourself. It's all really coming back to self.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing because I'm just seeing myself in so many of those things. I really can't.
Oh, no one's immune to it. No one's immune to it.
No. I get bored too quickly, so I just go, I can't say no, so I just and then suddenly I'm doing so many things going, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah, and we kick ourselves right after. We're like, oh, I thought, and how come, and then the comparisonitis kicks in. How come all these people, all my friends seem to be able to juggle this and this and this and this? What's wrong with me? Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Right. So social media plays a big part in that too, because you see these people doing these amazing things and you think, oh, my life is so boring. I really should be doing this. Yeah. I need to do more.
Yes, no. So all those stresses and everything is accumulating into our body, right? And really creating havoc with our nervous system. With insomnia, if you're having sleepless nights and you can't calm your mind at night.
Yes.
So the more that we could sort of have those little 5 minutes through the day of mindfulness and being present with ourselves to the point of that will help when we get down to our sleep.
Yes. So a moment ago, I mentioned baseline. So it's about getting that baseline, where we are kind of vibrating or operating, our stress levels. If we can get that as low as we possibly can by the end of the day, then we're starting, we're getting a restful sleep, and then we're starting at a 2 out of 10. You might never be a 0 out of 10 because a little bit of stress in our body helps sometimes. So it's not operating. And in my past, I was operating, at a 9 out of 10. So, someone could look at me the wrong way and I'd, burst into tears, which is, it's irrational. And but you don't know when you're in it because you're in it and you can't see the forest from the trees.
Yes. Yeah, that's really helpful. One of the things I was thinking of in this self-love, self-compassion, is it possible to rewire our brain for the first time in learning that, as an adult? This might be a new concept for a lot of people because they've been seeing it as weakness. They're being tough in their job. They're, moving through life and not really taking that time. They're probably too much on socials and, can't get off their phone. What kind of practical aspects can we rewire what's going on in our brain and change that happening?
Yes, we can. That's the good news, right? And we are never too old to do this because neuroplasticity, right? So I won't get too much into that, but neuroplasticity is in layman's terms, the brain's ability to rewire itself. So, if you think about every time we think a new thought, we think a thought, our neurons will fire together and create that thought, and we've got a whole bunch of brain activity happening. But if we just stop and think something else, I know it sounds more simple, but it in a way, it can be that simple. We create a new neural pathway. So that's what's happening at a kind of neurological level. But what that looks like for the day-to-day, I just get people to start paying attention. First of all, simple, pay attention to your nervous system. What's your body telling you? Do you have that tension in your shoulders constantly? I don't know about you, but if I get really, really stressed, I find that, my shoulders are in my ears and I'm like, ow, I have to take that moment of going, well, what's my body doing right now? It's really tense. Drop my shoulders. What's happening? What am I feeling? I'm feeling really nervous. And sometimes we're not aware of why. Like, I just feel nervous. I'm not sure what's going on. But listening to your nervous system, paying attention and trusting the cues that your body is giving you, first of all. And then we can build regulation into everyday moments. So we can do some grounding exercises. Even simple questions. A very powerful question I give my clients is, what story am I telling myself right now? So if I'm feeling a certain way, or, oh my God, I can't believe I said to that person, oh my God, now I'm stressing about what I said to that person all day. And then you ring them after work and you go, I'm so sorry. And they say, what? What are you talking about? I wasn't offended. It's fine. So what story are you telling yourself about what happened? Is it that you made a fool, or that person doesn't like you anymore, or that you look like, this, that, or the other? Getting off that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
We can implement some breath work to really, again, drop down into the present moment, calm our nervous system. All very, very simple tools that people can do at the workplace. They can just go, yeah, I'm off to the toilet for, 2 minutes, and they can close themselves in the cubicle and do like box breathing. They can do grounding exercises. You don't have to do it in front of everyone, but it's just that 2 to 5 minute break that helps you get out off that hamster wheel, get out of that stress response, and also moving your body in between meetings. Get up from your desk, walk around the block, get outside, breathe, deeply 5 times, walk back in. Just that resetting process. Also slowing down. So practicing not responding straight away. If you're feeling like, I need to make a decision, like just going, you know what, would you mind if I just take 2 minutes and I'll get back to you? So it's putting that stopgap between reacting and responding. Yeah. So we don't want to react unless it's, a dangerous situation and we need to, hightail it out of there. But we want to listen to hear and understand, not listen to respond. Yeah. And that's an exercise in communication, because a lot of the time we're listening, and before the other person's finished what they're saying, we're going, oh yeah, I've got an answer to that. When can I jump in? And we miss the rest of what they're saying. So slowing down, processing, it can be a split second. Processing, and now I'm going to respond. How I choose to respond, not how I'm just going to react to you.
Yeah. It's so important, especially in that demanding this performance thing that the world keeps on putting out. You must be performing. You must be first. You must get to the $1 million stage, whatever, all those things aren't important to me.
Well, it depends on what is true for them.
Yes.
So there are some people that are like, my dream is to be, CEO of a Fortune, company, right? That's great. They have to look at what the reasoning is. If it's for external validation, if that's important to them? Is it for, I want to keep up with the Joneses? Is it because, a whole bunch of different reasons? Or is it because I have such a drive and I know that I can do great things in that position and I really want that for myself, not for vanity, not for anything else? If it comes from a place of truth, then there's nothing wrong with it. If it comes at the expense of yourself and ultimately the rest of your life, then, maybe you can think about it. But there is no right or wrong of it, because we are all individuals. There's a saying, right? Nothing is a problem until it's a problem. So what's a problem for me? You might say, who cares? It's no big deal. And then what's a problem from you? I might think, oh my God, I'd love to have that problem, quote unquote problem. So we're all individual. And that's why, again, like back to self, what's important to you and why is it important? And then we can start looking at value systems.
So that's sort of where we could look at the inner truth versus the outer expectation.
Yeah.
And that tension that exists between that. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, this is where social media comes into it. And as adults, I have, predominantly adult clients. We're still talking about social media, about, I should be doing this and should be doing it. It's that should word. I know I'm like repeating myself, but that shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? That is puts such pressure on ourselves, which, we've always put pressure on ourselves. We're human. But I think that's an added element where we are so bombarded with information and tabloid and all of that kind of stuff, that reality is distorted.
Mm.
But, and I always say to my clients, like, people will put on social media or on the internet or blog posts what they want you to know. You know, I'm not saying, oh, it's a Saturday night and here I am with a hole in my sock ironing, you know, doing a whole bunch of ironing, you know. But if I go to a party, I'm going to go, yeah, here we're out. Now, it might look like I'm always out. Now, I'm very authentic. I don't really care. So I'll just put anything on there.
Yeah.
But still, it's very filtered. It's a filtered lens. So you can't necessarily compare yourself or your progress to other people, because that's where we get lost. It's again the cliche, like the only person you have to compete with is the person that you see in the mirror every day. That's your competition.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Like, yeah, don't care about where anyone else is. The grass isn't greener on the other side.
No, the grass is greener where you water it. And it's okay to look at someone else and say, oh, I'd really love to be in that position. And it's a healthy respect and like, oh, I'd love to achieve X, Y, and Z. But not, it becomes toxic when it's a competitive. Like, I need to get there, because if I don't get there, that means I'm not good enough, or that means that they're better than me. That's a very unhealthy way of looking at it. So you can have those goals, have big dreams. You know, I've got a dream to be on the TEDx stage one day. That's huge for me.
Yeah.
But it's not because I feel like I'm not good enough if I don't do that.
Yes, yeah. That's my dream too. So what are some of the practical tools or rituals that you use or teach? You've talked to some of them, but to restore our balance, emotional regulation, to help us shift from reactive to reflective leadership.
Yeah. So what have I mentioned? I've mentioned grounding techniques.
Yeah.
I've mentioned breath work. Sometimes with clients I do tapping, and this is something that you can, have you heard of tapping before? When you tap on certain meridian points. There are so many, and people can Google it, but that's basically just tapping into like releasing your nervous system, almost like acupuncture, but doing it yourself, I guess.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We can do little exercises like future pacing. So there's like a stress release process that I take people through. And it's very simple. It's like whatever you're stressed about, or whatever stories you're making up about that, you literally visualize, right? So we are using our imagination all the time. Yeah. And a lot of the time we're stuck in anxiety, which anxiety is stressing about the future. So we're already picturing something's going to happen and we get anxious about it. So this is going, okay, let's use our imagination for good. Let's take a second. We're going to visualize the successful completion of whatever it is I'm stressing about. And then I'm going to imagine 10 minutes after that, maybe when I'm driving home from that job interview, or when I'm, driving home from that awkward conversation that I had to have with my friend. And I'm going to picture like, I did really well. I'm so glad that we were able to come together, and whatever that scenario is, but a successful completion to that. And what that does is stop the BS stories and regulate your nervous system. And then there's other processes, that are a little bit more complex, like timeline therapy or hypnotherapy. Yesterday, I was talking to a client who was really stressing about balancing, work and then starting a business, family, cleaning the house, watching the children. And we literally just did an audit of her calendar, like very basic time blocking. Like, let's have a visual cue of where you're spending your time. And we'll color it in with colored pencils, like right back to basics. So, work is green, for example. Family time is pink. Self-care, so exercise or reading a book is, purple. And you get that very clear snapshot, realistically, of what's going on in your week, in your usual week. Yeah. And it's at that point where people go, oh, I'm working, everything is green. I've only got a 2-hour block that I'm spending with family, or I actually don't have any time for myself at all. Because we think we do, right? We're so busy. Yeah. But when you see it in front of your face, you're like, oh, yes. All right.
Yeah.
What has to shift here? And then, your good old-fashioned tried and true journaling and reflective exercises where you're just, there's different schools of thought with journaling. One is you just put on a timer and just go for it. And it doesn't matter what comes out. It doesn't matter if you repeat the same word 5 times, but what that's doing after a certain level of time is accessing your subconscious level, and all of the real stuff starts to come out.
Yeah.
Or there are prompted journals. So people can Google this, or they can ask me for some prompts. I've got a whole bunch of them, where you have a question and then you answer that question. And it's not for anybody else. It's just for you to get whatever's inside just out.
Yeah.
Because once it's out, you can let it go.
That's right. It's all about externalizing what's inside, isn't it? Like if we externalize that, then we're free. We're letting go of it. We're free of it.
In a way that's healthy, because what you see a lot is people not vocalizing, and they're internalizing and then compartmentalizing, and then one thing will happen and then they're like, right, now you're hooked in on you, and now I'm just going to tell you everything. So that's not the healthiest way to do it. We're human, it happens. But if we can catch ourselves with this type of work, just in the little snippets. So we're like, oh, I'm at an 8 out of 10. Okay, let's do some breathing. What's going on with me? Let's do a bit of journaling. It can be 5 minutes. People tend to think that this stuff, I don't have time for that. When you're sitting on the toilet, just do some reflective, ask yourself some questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one final question: if someone's listening is caught in the push, feeling like they have to be tough to succeed, what's one gentle truth that you could offer them today?
I think knowing yourself at a really deep level is the most powerful thing you can do. So whatever that looks like to whoever is listening, just find one thing that gets you back in touch with yourself. And remember, if there's nothing else that you take from this, you don't need to you don't need to break yourself to prove that you're worthy. You are already worthy. Yeah. And being tough is not the flex that everyone makes out to be. Self-awareness is your greatest superpower.
It is.
If you can be self-aware, then you have choice. What am I going to do about this? This is how I'm feeling. You can choose anything. You could still choose to act the same way that you've always been acting, but at least then you're consciously aware of it. You're not reacting.
Yeah.
So that was probably a couple of things there, but
that's
I can't help myself.
Self-awareness is so good. You could just concentrate on one thing. If you're really good at listening to your body is, that's one thing. Yeah. There's many.
Yeah, and be patient. Be patient with yourself. You don't have to be all things all the time to everyone. It's okay. We talk about spinning plates, right?
Yeah.
Spinning all the plates. You're allowed to drop a plate. You're allowed to drop that plate. That's okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's been a wonderful chat, Lisa. I really appreciated our time together, and I hope that inspires many people to look more within and to love themselves, because it's such an important thing, and we all need it more.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
This is Dr. Mel Baker, and you've been listening to Living Reflections, where truth is honoured and space is held. Until next time, may you find breath, clarity, and your own quiet return.